if we talk about the inflation picture, I think the basic question continues to be, will inflation come durably back to 2%? Now, we've had a couple of good months of inflation data, and I think that's a very, that's been a positive in terms of giving some signs that we might be moving in that direction. But the question is that going to be sustainable? And I'd say the jury is still out about whether that will be sustainable. Odds are more likely than not that we're going to at least be in this 2 to 3% range, which is better than the picture that we were seeing earlier in the year, but still is uncertain about whether or not will actually sustainably be there. And so a lot of the calls for 50 basis point cuts uh, and and a lot of the pricing that exists in the short rate market related to the fall in inflation was really driven by this really acute, what you see here in the middle, acute slowdown in the inflation rate for these various super core elements, as well as an acute slowdown of what happened in rent of primary residence and OER. And interestingly enough, those measures in part bounced back over the course, in the most recent report. And when you take a step back and just basically scan what's going on with inflation, various inflation surveys of households, of businesses, of landlords, you basically say, hey, look, does it look like there is a widespread collapse in price growth in the economy, as would be indicated by these measures? The answer is very clear, that there is no signs of widespread collapse in price growth in the economy. Businesses aren't seeing it, consumers aren't seeing it, landlords aren't seeing it. If anything, you see some indications across all of those that price growth might be a touch higher than where we were last summer. And so the Fed is appropriately cautious when they look at this measured inflation data and they say, maybe we shouldn't be so confident to peg the last 3 months and say, well, the last 3 months are the way that they are, and extrapolate that out into the future, particularly when you see the sort of dynamics that we saw in the reporting that we saw in the report that we saw yesterday, which is a lot of the things that were super disinflationary actually bounced back in the recent period. And so really calls into question, is this really going to be sustainable or not? Part of the reason why the Fed waited till September is because they're going to take in another inflation report, a PCE inflation report, as well as an unemployment report between today and then, and they'll make the call appropriately then.